So I'm one of the few voices in what we call independent media or new media or alternative media. I'm one of the few people in this space who's been very clear for the past year or two that I actually think mainstream media is infinitely better than this space that I'm in. Because, I mean, everybody in this space, they like to suck themselves off like they're special and pretend like, you know, they're not connected to big donors. But then you scratch beneath the surface and you find out they're virtually all doing ad deals. There are fucking puppet masters with their strings. And beyond that, you also have, I mean, a lot of these people are just hopelessly contrarian. They are narrative humpers. They are, preaching to the choir and audience captured. So I used to have a lot of faith in what we call independent media or new media or alternative media. But over time, that faith was completely destroyed because so many of the people in this space, it's just a total fucking cesspool, right? It's just, they're hideously, atrociously bad at their job. Now, I'm going to do a separate segment specifically focusing on the independent media hacks who were dead wrong on Trump. But having said that, in this moment right now, you get to see why everybody hated mainstream media in the first place. Because to say they are failing, to say they are dropping the ball when it comes to war with Iran is the understatement of the century. So there is no good media, right? Mainstream media sucks, corporate media sucks, but also fake independent media, new corporate media, that sucks too. So you're just getting wall-to-wall propaganda fucking everywhere you look. Everything's horrible, everything sucks. But let's start with mainstream media because there's a lot they've been failing on. So I've been watching some of it recently, and I was listening to some CNN when Trump first decided to launch the illegal and offensive war against Iran. And here's the problem. Everything is framed from the perspective of the U.S. establishment. So they take all of their claims and their arguments at face value, namely that, this was because, Iran's nuclear program and they were building a nuke and Trump lost faith that they were negotiating earnestly. And obviously, if you know the specifics here, this is going to drive you fucking crazy because the reality is we were the ones who were fake negotiating. Trump was the one who was fake negotiating. He used diplomacy to lure Qasem Soleimani and then murder him in the first term. And this time around, his Gaza ceasefire deal was totally fake. This entire kayfabe, the whole virtue signaling show about negotiating this time around, totally fake. They've been planning this attack since Trump first got in office. The green light had been given a long time ago. But the media in this country won't tell you that. They'll tell you, they're concerned about Iran's nuclear program and that Iran is building a nuclear weapon and that they're belligerent and Trump lost faith that they were negotiating in good faith. And so horrific. Now, let me give you some of the specifics here. As Adam Johnson says, this is the New York Times, supposed to be, the paper of record, the liberal paper. Here's what he says. Since Trump bombed Iran, the New York Times has published essays claiming, number one, 80% of Iranians secretly want their government overthrown. So this is what we call pro-war propaganda. They're trying to say, bro, of course, this is a good idea because the Iranians don't like their government anyway. Iran is currently providing safe haven to the head of Al-Qaeda. Oh my God, I'm going to fucking lose it at this one, bro. I'm going to fucking lose it at this one. First of all, the new Syrian president or dictator is a former head of an Al-Qaeda branch, and Trump just made a deal with him and made nice with him. Iran and Al-Qaeda, they're mortal enemies. Iran is a Shia theocracy. Al-Qaeda are Sunni fundamentalists. They fight each other. They hate each other. This is just a fucking lie. Oh my God. Trump made a courageous and correct decision and 2 essays of vague liberal hand-wringing. So what that means, for those of you who don't know, that means you don't comment on the war as such. You don't say that the war is a bad idea and that we shouldn't do it and that it's illegal and that it's offensive. What you do is you procedure monger. So you say, sir, you didn't dot the I's and cross the T's and fill out the proper forms and go through the proper process. How dare you? It's a way to avoid talking about the actual issue and taking a stand on the actual issue. And it's a way of saying, all the administrative stuff wasn't completed correctly, so you got to handle that first. It's like the most tepid bullshit way to oppose what's happening here because you're not actually opposing it. So that's the New York Times. Let me give you some more. Here we have CNN. Listen to what he says here.
I'm wondering what you make of this announcement by the president and the decision to act now.
Well, I'm fascinated, and candidly, I'm impressed. I never really could understand what the 2-week pause meant or what it was for. What was left to negotiate? What were we going to expect the Iranians to offer? In many ways, it was much like a Trump deal. I mean, he's trying to make a deal to buy an apartment, but all of a sudden the apartment was destroyed. So where's the negotiation? So I think the use of deception and trickery in this case, first of all, was successful, but second of all, saved the potential loss of American lives.
So just flat out supporting it, saying his trickery and deceit was impressive. And by the way, this is the only time that they actually will acknowledge that the U.S. was not negotiating in good faith. But when they say it, it's to point out, I love it. I support the fact that we were lying and we were not negotiating in good faith, and we were just dragging the Iranians along. By the way, also take note, where is Anderson Cooper broadcasting from? Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm sure we're gonna get a really neutral and objective perspective on what's happening here. All right, more. Here's Van Jones, who's supposed to be a progressive. He went on CNN and said this.
I was also in the Holy Land very recently. I think progressives underestimate how dangerous Iran is. Iran is not a normal country. Normal countries don't blind women because they showed some hair.
Oh my God.
They don't.
We're doing this shit again. The argument of, bro, you don't want to do the war in Afghanistan? What about all the women in Afghanistan, bro? Are you like not even a feminist, bro? You don't even care about those women, bro? Saudi Arabia is one of our top allies, and they treat women like shit. Wouldn't you, if you actually cared about this, wouldn't you first reach out to all of our ally countries and say, hey, stop doing that to your women? But no, now we need an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us because what? We care so much about women? We don't even care about women in this country. The Republicans are trying to totally get rid of abortion, and women are going to die from this shit, and they don't give a fuck. Oh my God, Van Jones, what a hack. How much money is he getting from the Israel lobby? Because this sounds like Israel lobby speak.
Little gangs and proxies to surround a country and fire rockets and rape people. So Iran, the two things are clear. The what, they cannot have a bomb, and the why, because they say death to America, death to Israel, and death to all the Jews.
Oh my God, bro. Are we really fucking doing this again? Are we really doing this again? I can't fucking believe this. I can't believe this. When you watch mainstream media, they literally want you to shut your brain off, be totally incurious, not look into anything, not understand anything about history. The reason why Iran hates us is because we literally violently overthrew their government in a coup. Okay? It was in the 1950s. We overthrew their democratically elected leader, Mohammad Mossadegh, and put in a dictator, the Shah, who was a Western puppet who let us take their oil. Yeah, I don't know. If there was a country that was like the puppet master of my country, pulling the strings and violently overthrowing our government, I think I'd hate them too. I might say death to that country too. And obviously, Israel's always been fucking with Iran. Why do you think Iran had to put their civilian nuclear program in a mountain way underground? Because Israel's been chomping at the bit. We're going to attack you. We're going to attack it. Fuck you. We want to overthrow you. We fucking hate you. So yeah, they respond and they say death to America and death to Israel. But no, he frames it as, it's because of some innate desert hatred. These are xenophobic bigots and crazy people. You can't trust them. Who are really the crazy people when it's our country and it's Israel that launched an illegal and offensive war against them? They weren't attack us and they weren't even building a fucking nuke. Every part of this is total horseshit.
One of those should offend you if you're progressives. At least one should offend you. And so the question, though, is the who and the how. Is Israel going to take out this nuclear capacity by dropping people there who blow it up? Or is America going to take it out by dropping a bomb that blows it up? But the what and the why are clear, and I think progressives should get on board with that. We cannot have a nuclear-armed Iran.
Progressives need to get on board with that. They need to get on board with war with Iran. And then he goes on to repeat the lie. We cannot have a nuclear-armed Iran. They're not building it. It's that simple. They're not building it. But as I always point out, even if they were, the idea that they would immediately launch it on Tel Aviv or they would immediately launch it in New York City is total bullshit. Kim Jong-un is way crazier than the Iranian government. He has a nuke. He's not offensively using it. It serves as a deterrent against Western aggression. This is the sort of claptrap you're getting in mainstream media right now. giving you none of the information, none of the facts, fucking fear-mongering to the max. We are right back in 2002 with the bullshit propaganda lead-up that happened to the Iraq War. So now, let me retract my previous comments that I think mainstream media is way better than fake independent media. No, they equally suck. They equally suck. Here's CNN. Analysis. U.S. strikes mark a stunning demonstration of military might and presidential power. Could you imagine writing something this humiliating, this embarrassing? U.S. strikes mark a stunning demonstration of military might and presidential power. You don't bring up the fact that Iran wasn't building a nuke. You don't bring up the fact that this was an illegal and offensive strike against a country that wasn't going to attack us and wasn't going to attack Israel. You don't make the clear moral case that the person who threw the first punch is wrong. It's a stunning demonstration of military might and presidential power. So as Judd Legum says here, I was thinking that maybe more than 20 years after the start of the Iraq War, media coverage would be more skeptical and less sycophantic. No such luck. That's correct. That is correct, Judd. All right, more. We showed you this in a previous segment, but CNN is warning of Iranian sleeper cells. Again, this is pro-war fever. That's what this is. They're trying to scare you into thinking, look over your shoulder, there might be a scary Iranian who's going to kill you. I really think people need to be aware, and I'm predicting this again beforehand. I think there's a chance there's a false flag attack to try to make war fever even stronger in this country, to try to make it so that the U.S. would support a long-term regime change war, because that's what Trump is trying to do. That's what Netanyahu is trying to do. Trump admitted this is about regime change. We want to overthrow their regime. And so in order to get the public support, they would need something that really makes the polls way stronger for them. And one of the ways to do that is a false flag attack. So now you got the government saying, oh, we're on high alert for terrorism. You got Wolf Blitzer saying Iran sleeper cells are in this country. Understand something. And again, a lot of you already know this, but this is for people who don't know it. When we talk about radical Islamic terrorism, we are referring to Salafists. We are referring to Wahhabi Muslims. We're referring to Sunni extremists. They come more out of Saudi Arabia, okay? That when you talk about the Shias, they don't do jihadist-style terror attacks. They are relying on pure rank ignorance of the public, not understanding that Shia are not a threat to us. They're not a threat. So, but this is what they do. This is what they do. They're trying to scare you into supporting more war. This is a great point from Adam Johnson. I've made it before. He makes it better than anybody. So this is the New York Times. This is the headline. U.S. military is pulled back into Middle East wars. So here's what Adam says. Really stop and think about this, because this is so important. He says, the U.S. bombs another country without any legal or moral justification. Indeed, they hardly bothered to pretend they had one. And the U.S., always reluctant and innocent, is once again pulled into war. To U.S. media, the U.S. can never seek war. It's always something forced upon them. That's such an important point, because in mainstream media in this country, what you get is the default perspective. We always mean well. We always mean well. Sure, sometimes we're the bumbling, fumbling empire, but ultimately we are the do-gooders. We view ourselves as the do-gooders. We try to do good. And sometimes we swing and miss. And so, we're pulled into no, we're not pulled into it. They decided to do this. They have agency. They are warmongers. They are imperialists. They made the choice to launch an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. Full stop. All of the blame goes to the U.S. All of the blame goes to Israel. That's the point. Don't do this, that like oafish empire, like, I want to help people, but I keep messing up. Oh, I'm dragged into another war. Like, it's so fucking dishonest if you stop and think about it for 3 seconds. Finally, let me give you this one. We covered this one in a previous segment, but I think it's super important because it shows you how comical our media gets in moments like this. Ready? So here they are talking about the high-level strike that was done against Fordo, which is their main nuclear facility, which is in a mountain and way underground. Now, Trump pretended like it was this massive success. We learned immediately after it wasn't a success. It wasn't destroyed. The area wasn't destroyed. But beyond that, Iran had already moved their enriched uranium out of there. So at every level, it was just like a virtue signal fake strike where they were pretending like we succeeded, even though we literally didn't do any of the things that we were supposed to do, that we thought we were supposed to do. Okay, but here's how they talk about it on TV. Look at how misleading and stupid and comical this is.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is we're being told this is, I think, anywhere from just shy of 200 to 300 feet in depth. There are all kind of reports out there of 1,000 foot, but I think that's more propaganda. So what you end up doing is...
in the middle of a propaganda segment. That's propaganda.
You saw the movie, the latest Top Gun movie. eerily enough, this is that plot kind of coming to fruition in real life.
You guys see that new Top Gun movie? They actually did that in real life.
It's not just one bomb. It'll be a bomb after a bomb to get through that penetration.
And just lastly, that's what you're talking about. Can penetrate up to 200 feet below the surface. And then, of course, we'll see it try and put the second one in there and go down in there. Let's bring in David Burke, our Top Gun and former Top Gun instructor, retired U.S. Marine Corps officer. Now, David, I don't know how well we did that, but you know this better than anybody. Talk to us about, questions over whether or not this can successfully be done.
Joey Jones just crushed that explanation. You guys hit the nail on the head. So really well done. This absolutely can be done. There is not a cave in the world deep enough to defend itself against the American military if it needs to hit it. And you described the weapon system and the aircraft and the mating of that exactly right. Now, this is a hard problem to solve, but it is absolutely a solvable problem with this system.
This is incredible. So the Fox News boomers sitting there on the brink of a fucking heart attack, drinking Bud Light, glued to the TV for hours. They're now here. Your military is so strong and so amazing. They basically did the Top Gun attack and they pulled it off perfectly. Oh my God. Well, as this person says, it's almost like Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick 2022 was designed to prepare the public for an Iran war, meaning Hollywood producers were in bed with military equipment contractors, investment banks, and Pentagon and state bureaucrats. Literally, this is just war propaganda to make you feel like, oh my God, our military's so on point and they got it so well and they copied the plot of Top Gun and they actually pulled it off, bro. Amazing, bro. So look, as I said, wall-to-wall propaganda. Every now and then on MSNBC, to be fair, you do have some great voices like Ahmed, for example, and there are some others, and they have had their moments of telling the truth and saying, like, Trump pulled out of the 2018 Iran nuclear agreement. Everything was going fine. Everything was great. This was a non-issue. Then Trump made it an issue. Then he launched an illegal and offensive war. So there have been flashes on MSNBC. But CNN, Fox News, all the rest of them, mainstream media, it is abysmal coverage. Nobody is saying the plain face, obvious truth. This is an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. And oh yeah, by the way, they weren't even building a nuke. And even if they were building a nuke, it would literally be just for deterrence, because the same fucking country, Israel, in the region that has illegal nukes is currently bombing 4 countries and currently in the midst of a genocide. They're the psychopathic, bloodthirsty warmongers who are looking to fucking tank the region and steal more territory and create a greater Israel. And Trump is more than willing to help him out with that because he's a warmonger in his own accord. And obviously he's bought by the Israel lobby, and Jeffrey Epstein has fucking dirt on him. And the Israelis could easily release that if he doesn't do the war. So that's what's actually happening. You're not going to get that on mainstream media. And unfortunately, so-called new media, alternative media, they're fucking coping and seething, and they've been unmasked so thoroughly based on how sycophantic they were for Trump before he got back to the White House, saying the most ridiculous things about how he's the anti-war candidate, all this stuff. So there are very few, if any, great voices in the media. It is, your brain is being pumped full of poison every direction you look. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.